The government wants to implant a microchip in all American citizens.
Mr. Reagan.
So this is kind of an older story, but I only heard about it recently. The New York Post reported on April 12th of this year that the Pentagon has developed an implant that could help detect COVID under your skin. This is an article by Hannah Sparks. All right, let's have a look. Well, there's a video here, so let's watch the video.
It's a sensor.
This tiny green thing in there?
That tiny green thing in there, you put it underneath your skin, and what that tells you is that there are chemical reactions going on inside the body, and that signal means you're going to have symptoms tomorrow.
Wow.
We challenge the research community to come up with solutions that may sound like science fiction. And we're very willing to take chances with high-risk investments that may not work. But if they do, we can completely transform the landscape.
All right, so apparently this was originally reported on an episode of 60 Minutes, and it's not scary at all. All right, now I'm going to read this article in the New York Post, and I'm going to talk about the implications of this and what I think about it in one moment. First, of course, I have to sell you something. Now, inflation isn't something we've heard about for a while, but in April, the inflation rate in the United States hit a 29-year high. You heard that right. Highest inflation in 29 years. Now, that's a big, big problem for all of us with food, gas, and, every other price of everything else going up. Now, I went to buy a pound of ribeye steak yesterday, $45. And this was not from a restaurant. That was from a grocery store. And it's even worse if you're planning on retiring anytime soon. You need to put up an inflation dam to stop it from wiping out the value of your savings and investments. And it's not too late. Noble Gold specializes in retirement planning and IRAs. So their team of experts is your first stop, and they make it extremely easy. Now this month, they are offering a 1-ounce American Eagle solid silver proof coin with every IRA or 401k taken out. I love this thing. I've been sent several coins from this company, and this is honestly one of my favorites. I love this thing. And look at this cool case that they give you. I mean, it almost looks like something off of the presidential desk. Fantastic. Look, not many people can relax when inflation is this high. But like thousands of others, with Noble Gold, you will be okay. Visit their website at noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. All right, so let's read this article. It says, medical researchers at the Pentagon have created a microsensor implant that may eventually detect COVID-19 when inserted under the skin. Relax, conspiracy theorists. They're not being disseminated via vaccines. The revolutionary subdermal technology was developed by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which operates under the Pentagon umbrella. According to Sunday night's broadcast of 60 Minutes, the top secret unit was launched during the Cold War to study emerging technologies for military use. Among them, the innovations to defend soldiers from biological weapons. Dr. Matt Hepburn, an infectious disease physician and retired Army colonel, revealed that the microsensor, which is not in widespread use outside the Defense Department, could help detect infections and COVID-19 in individuals well before a patient zero spawns an outbreak. In an individual well before a patient zero spawns an outbreak. That actually doesn't make any sense. How could you detect an infection before patient zero spawns an outbreak? Oh, okay, I see what they're saying. So the idea is if everybody's got one of these things implanted in them, it should be able to detect an infection of something that could be infectious and could infect lots of people before it does so. But the problem with that is that most outbreaks of virulent diseases are not things that we know about already. So how are you going to detect something we don't even know exists or we're not prepared for? That doesn't make any sense to me. So this guy, Matt Hepburn, says, we challenge the research community to come up with solutions that may sound like science fiction. And he adds, and apparently this guy's role at DARPA is to take pandemics off the table, he says. Matt Hepburn compared their diagnostic device to a car's check engine alert, despite conspiracy theories that claim Microsoft's Bill Gates is using vaccines as a vehicle to insert microscopic global positioning systems into our bodies. 60 Minutes clarified that DARPA's device would not track your every move, nor is it being administered via shots, as some would-be Twitter sleuths have pondered. It's a sensor, Hepburn told CBS correspondent Bill Whitaker. That tiny green thing in there, you put it underneath your skin, and what it tells you is that there are chemical reactions going on inside your body, and that signal means that you're going to have symptoms tomorrow. The microsensor embedded in a tissue-like gel is designed to continuously test the implant's recipient's blood for the presence of the virus. Once an infection is detected, the sensor alerts the patient to conduct a rapid blood test, which can be self-administered to confirm the positive result. We can have that information in 3 to 5 minutes, Hepburn said. As you truncate that time, as you diagnose and treat, what you do is you stop the infection in its tracks. The segment also revealed technology that would allow a standard dialysis machine to remove COVID-19 from the blood using a customized filter. Blood is passed through the machine, where it is detoxed, then pumped back into the body in a continuous stream until the body is rid of the virus. A military spouse dubbed Patient 16 survived a severe bout of illness, including organ failure and septic shock, thanks to the novel dialysis machine. Treatment lasted 4 days, after which Patient 16 made a full recovery. DARPA scientists say that their research is critically important to preventing outbreaks in crowded military quarters, such as the one that occurred on the USS Theodore Roosevelt on March and April 2020, which saw 1,271 crew members test positive for the coronavirus. Pentagon researchers continue to study COVID-19, and much of the research has been critical in stopping the pandemic, including new methods of detecting and developing antibodies in about 10 weeks, a fraction of the 6 to 24 months previously required. They eventually hope to close the gap between new disease detection and vaccine development. Eventually, said DARPA scientist James Crow, we would start from a blood sample from a survivor and be giving you an injection of the cure within 60 days. For us, DARPA, if the experts are laughing at you and saying it's impossible, you're in the right space, said Hepburn. You know, this is actually fascinating technology, and I would say this is great. You know, this is a fantastic little development. This new technology is amazing, and I would be thrilled about it, except you've got a couple of issues now. The CIA, the FBI, all the intelligence agencies, maybe not the DIA, but the rest of them, as well as the Biden administration and a lot of federal officials. I mean, they've really lost the trust of the American people. We're in a period of time now in which the reason that you end up with these Q conspiracy theorists and people who believe things that are a little bit crazy and aren't true is because you've got the federal government engaged in activity which is completely and totally outrageous and illegal, right? If you have American citizens who have done nothing wrong, protested on, in the Capitol building on January 6th, being arrested and being held indefinitely. This is unconstitutional. And when you have the federal government instructing Facebook, what people they should be censoring, again, that's unconstitutional, right? You're violating people's civil rights. We live in a fascist country now. So the idea that the CIA is going to, well, it's not the CIA, it's in the Pentagon, which isn't necessarily just the CIA, but right, everybody associates anybody in the Pentagon, they associate that with the CIA, right? So if you have an organization in the Pentagon having developed some kind of a medical device that's supposed to be implanted under your skin, you think people are going to trust that? Of course not. You idiots. If you want people to trust you, you've got to earn their trust. You can't keep violating people's civil rights and then go, oh, we have this perfectly safe device that fits under your skin. That's the really sad thing about this. This is an amazing technology. If what they're saying is true, and look, maybe this is some kind of scheme. Maybe this is some kind of scam. Maybe this is a conspiracy. Who knows? That's the tricky thing. I can't trust these people, and neither can any of us, because the federal government has been so diabolical recently. And there's a lot of Americans who believe the election was stolen, right? There's a lot of Americans that believe that. And it's like, they wouldn't believe that if they trusted you guys. You guys have lost all trust. And the Democrats would like to say, oh, well, these Q conspiracy theorists, they're just a bunch of lunatics and nut jobs. No, they aren't. Some of them are. But a lot of these people are just normal Americans who see that there's a lot of scheming and bad stuff going on in the federal government. They're not exactly sure what it is. They're all trying to figure it out, right? If you have something that is suspicious or strange or anomalous or weird, or you're seeing something that doesn't seem right, human beings are going to want to figure out what's going on. And they're going to speculate with all kinds of different theories. I do that all the time on this show. I try to be responsible about it. I try to speculate in ways that I think are reasonable and rational. But the truth is, if you got millions of people speculating about what's going on in the world, what's going on in the federal government, and they're not sure, you're going to end up with a lot of kooky theories. And some of them are going to be totally way off base, but a few of them are going to be right. So you can point out all the kooky, crazy conspiracy theories you want and say conservatives are all a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. You can say that, and a lot of people are going to believe you. But the problem is you're never going to stop people speculating about what's going on and coming up with these crazy conspiracy theories so long as you continue to violate the civil rights of Americans, as long as you keep violating the trust of Americans. The mainstream media keeps lying to us. The federal government keeps lying to us in all kinds of ways. You guys spied on Donald Trump's campaign in 2016. You spied on his campaign. The FBI did that, okay? That is so much worse than Watergate, right? People look at Watergate and they say, oh, that was the moment we lost our innocence as a country. Okay, well, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But what happened in Watergate? What happened in Watergate? Some of Nixon's guys snuck into a hotel room where they thought there was some kind of information regarding Nixon's opponent's campaign, right? That was it. That was all they did. They were just looking for a little bit of information that they could maybe use to give themselves an edge in the campaign, in his re-election campaign. It was a little sneaky. It was maybe a bad move. Of course it was a bad move because it ended with Nixon's resignation. It was terrible. It was a terrible thing that happened to the country. It's like, oh, you guys shouldn't be so sneaky. You guys shouldn't be so bad. Yeah, probably not. It was a mistake. It was a few guys that did the wrong thing. Okay, fine. But at the end of the day, when you have an official government organization, the FBI, working with the Democrats to try to derail the Republican campaign for president, that is a gazillion times worse than what happened at Watergate. And nobody really has that perspective. I don't understand. Like, people talk about Watergate as if it's this sort of, this boogeyman of American politics. The worst thing could possibly ever have happened. And maybe at the time it was. I don't think so. I think there was far worse things. I think what Kennedy was doing before that. The problem is you have politicians that did bad things historically, but they just never got caught. Like, did Kennedy really win his first election against Nixon? A lot of people think that maybe he didn't, right? Maybe there was some cheating going on. But 2020, the election in 2020, come on. There's so many suspicious things about that election. I think something like 30% of Democrats think that it's likely that there was some shenanigans going on and actually Trump probably actually won that election. And so if you have Democrats who think that, and those are just the ones that admit to it, then it's a good chance that there's something fishy went on. I think a lot of people are convinced of that. And so, yeah, the federal government is really dividing the country, and it's not dividing them along, Democrat versus Republican lines, right? You're dividing it along lines of people who trust the federal government and people who don't. And I think that's something like 80-20 now. I mean, you're really, really dividing the country in a bad way. Very few people trust the federal government. Very few people are going to look at this and go, oh, I want that injected under my skin. You already got a lot of people who won't get the vaccine. And it's not just Republicans. I know people keep saying, oh, it's these idiot redneck Republicans that are these conspiracy theorists. They won't get the vaccine. No, it's a lot of Americans, a lot of Democrats, a lot of black Americans won't get the vaccine because they don't trust the federal government. And for good reason. There are some, the Tuskegee experiments, right? There's some bad history there. So it makes some sense that black Americans would be hesitant to trust the federal government. But now with the arrests on January 6th and with all the lies that we get from the mainstream media, with Trump being banned from social media, from all the COVID misinformation that we've gotten, like official misinformation, like first they say, oh, masks don't work, and then they say masks totally work. So, obviously they were lying in one of those instances. Oh, no, we're just lying to you for your own benefit. Now we'll tell you the truth. It's like, well, you can't lie to people and then say, oh, we just lied to you for your own benefit, but now we're going to tell you the truth and expect people to believe you. Nobody believes you, okay? The federal government is actively destroying their own credibility, and that's the problem, right? And so nobody's going to have this injected under their skin because nobody trusts the federal government. This could be perfectly benign. This could be an amazing technology that could totally help out all Americans and help out the world. Is anybody going to trust that? They are absolutely not. And it's all of your fault, Democrats. It's all your fault, FBI. It's all your fault, CIA. Stop lying to Americans. Stop violating our civil rights. Stop destroying your own credibility. Earn back the trust of Americans. Be honest. Stop using dirty tricks in politics. Stop cheating. Stop lying. Stop defrauding the American people. Nancy Pelosi is stealing money from the American people and giving it to her cronies, giving it to her friends. She is using insider information to get rich. Nancy Pelosi is a criminal, okay? We have so many criminals in public office. We have this whole deep state engine running, influencing the federal government. Joe Biden doesn't even really run things, okay? We've got this whole shadow government going on. A lot of people think Barack Obama's in charge, and it's like, be transparent. Be honest. You know, it's crazy. Like, Donald Trump is president and he does a million interviews. You know, any reporter wants to talk to him. He takes the question. He answers it as best as he can. He's constantly tweeting. He's the most transparent president in history. You know, when Barack Obama comes into office, he says, "Oh, I'm going to be transparent. Everything's going to be really good." And he is the least transparent president in history. And then Biden comes along after Trump, says the same thing as Obama did. "Oh, we're going to be totally transparent. We're going to be much better than Trump." I don't know how you could be more transparent than Trump, but whatever. He comes out, he says, we're going to be transparent. We're going to be, you're going to know everything that's going on. We're going to be a totally honest and good administration. He said he's going to kick out anybody who is mean to their subordinates. Okay, yeah, that's that didn't happen. Yeah, then Biden gets into office, and what is it? It's like the most opaque presidency in history. Like, everything's secretive. They don't even let Biden answer questions from reporters half the time. They kick him off the mic, and it's pretty unbelievable. Nobody trusts this government. Nobody's going to trust this, whatever this is, microchip or, whatever this technology is. Anyway, nobody's going to trust this. And, I feel bad for these researchers. If these researchers are acting in good faith and they're really developing amazing new technologies, sorry, guys, your technology is never really going to be used because nobody trusts the federal government. So I would encourage any scientist out there, any researcher, any leftist who is at all interested in the development of science and the progress of science, I would encourage you to vote Republican. Get people in office who are trustworthy, who actually want to make the country better and aren't going to hide things from the American people, who will be transparent, who will have integrity. And then if we have enough people in government who have integrity, if we have enough people in government who the American people actually trust to be acting in their best interest, only then, I think, will technologies like this be welcomed by a majority of the people. Some people will never accept technologies like this. They will always see this as some kind of way to sneak a tracker into under your skin, maybe a sign of the beast, different things like this. And so there are some people, religious Christians, deeply religious Christians, who probably will never get something like this embedded under their skin. But there's a lot of people who will, if you just have people with integrity in government. And right now, that's just not the case. Well, that's it for me. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much that is not so. Good night.
President Washington began this tradition in 1790 after reminding the nation that the destiny of self-government is finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people. For our friends in the press who place a high premium on accuracy, let me say, I did not actually hear George Washington say that.